Captain's log, stardate 102516.4 is the Stargate that I... The Stargate. The Stargate
Stargate.
that I came up with.
It's a good Stargate.
Lazor Comb.
We are not going to panic.
What the heck even happened to you, man?
Vengeance.
Shrimp Daddy! Ha 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 ha!
Give him a hockey stick!
What am I, fucking magician, man?
Am I some kind of fucking magician, man?
Fucking nerd!
Whatever. It's not like we're professionals anyway.
And I'm not sorry anymore.
Time to big brain.
Every day, yes.
What is the airwolf of trains?
Captain's log, stardate 102516.4. The Lazor Comb podcast has been summoned by Starfleet to review a second wave of Star Trek television shows during the month of January. We remain cautious, but optimistic as to the outcome of the mission's quality. I am one of your hosts, Lieutenant Commander Christopher Siege.
And I'm Ensign Cal.
I like how I start off by saying Captain's log and then refer to myself as Lieutenant Commander.
You were reading the captain's log because he's missing.
Oh, yes. That's the mission that we're on from Starfleet.
Yeah.
That's what the in the name of the Federation, goddammit.
That's right.
This is episode 106 of the Lazor Comb podcast. And, it's a new year. It's a new me. It's 2025. I'm now 40 years old at the time of recording as of 3 days ago. If you longtime listeners may remember, but back in 2022, we did a wave of shows called Star Tronk Month. We reviewed, in chronological order of release, we reviewed the original series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise. We had been saying for a while that, kind of toying with the idea, it's like, well, maybe we can do a Star Tronk Month 2. Star Tronk II, the draft of Sean. I don't know.
The quest for Energon. I don't know.
Star Tronk II, the search for
the search for Boogaloo. I don't know.
The search for Boogaloo. There we go. Star Tronk II, the search for Boogaloo.
The search for Captain Boogaloo commences.
Oh, God. Anyway, so we've been toying with the idea of doing a follow-up to Star Trek Month eventually when there became enough completed Star Trek series to do that. Well, guess what? There is now.
Shocking.
With, at the time of recording, with Lower Decks having just ended its 5-season run, its 5-year mission, if you will.
Oh, shit.
Just a few weeks ago. I believe it ended in the middle of December of 2024.
Year of our Lord? Stardate?
The year of our Lord. 2024 took so many things away from us. And chief among them is Star Trek Lower Decks. Anyway,
but that also means we can review it now.
It does mean we can review it, and I'm looking forward to that because it took me a while to get on board with Lower Decks, but I've become quite a big fan of it in the past couple of years.
Yeah, I need to give it the old maximal try again because I got like 3 episodes in and ended up not because it was necessarily bad. It just didn't grab me, and I meandered onto other things.
Yeah, it took me until I think probably the second or third season before I really got on board with the show's wavelength.
Okay.
before I beamed aboard, you know.
Okay.
So this month on the Lazor Comb podcast, we're going to be covering Star Trek: The Animated Series from the 1970s.
Oh shit.
Star Trek Discovery, which, oh boy, am I looking forward to that.
Aren't we all?
Star Trek Picard, which that's going to be an interesting one because that show is super serialized, so that's going to be a weird one to kind of jump into a random episode of, but and we'll be capping it off with saving the best for last, Star Trek Lower Decks. So
I'm excited.
That's something we got to look forward to. And this week on the Lazor Comb podcast, as I mentioned, we're kicking things off with Star Trek: The Animated Series.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission: to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Which, if you're watching this on video, you may have noticed.
That you may have noticed that it's not only the crew of the USS Enterprise that is in animated form. Oh no. Now, here on the Lazor Comb podcast, we too have entered the second dimension.
That's right. Well, technically, everything you see on a screen is two-dimensional, but we're using avatars is what I'm trying to say here, folks. They look just like us, trust me.
Oh yeah. My eyebrows are doing this weird twitchy thing right now.
Yeah, just like real life. Yeah.
Just like real life. It's probably the face tracking's probably confused because I'm wearing a toque and my toque is actually covering my eyebrows. Take off the toque, see if that does anything.
Probably.
Yeah, it stopped. Okay.
Yeah, let's just.
No toque for you.
No toque for you. I feel like we've what's that program that we used a couple times?
Face rig.
The face rig is much better. But these are funnier.
Yeah, face rig is definitely better. I thought about firing up face rig, but then you know what?
But then I was like, nah, too much work.
Then I was like, nah. So this week we're covering, as I mentioned, Star Trek: The Animated Series. We landed on the season 1, episode 11, the 11th episode of the first season, the Territon Incident, which originally aired on November 17th, 1973.
Damn.
Now, what was the star date in this episode? It was like 5507.4.3, I believe.
Let's say it is.
Let's say it is. Cal, have you ever seen the Star Trek: The Animated Series before today?
I sure have not.
Neither had I. And, well, I will say, I was pleasantly surprised at how Star Trek it was.
Not only very Star Trek, but I like the science-y phenomena. That's the plural, right?
This episode
a lot
goes
more than like drama, and they do that this episode.
This episode goes hard on the Treknobabble.
It does, but it makes sense, and I like it.
It goes so like normally I can listen to Technobabble and just kind of laugh at it because it's like heh, I hear what you're saying and what you're saying is actually like kind of nothing.
Right, right.
But in this episode, I was actually I got to be honest, I was left more confused by like a lot of the Technobabble and the science that they get into.
Amateur.
I know.
um, but it's very Trek-like, and I'm just gonna, at least based on this episode, you can explore more themes with animation than you can live action.
100%. So the plot of this episode involves the crew of the Enterprise shrinking and
Sure does.
the impracticalities that surround that. And that is something that I mean, you could do that in live action, but that's something that, especially at the time and with a limited budget, you can do much easier through animation.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Another thing
And
I
I
was
like how logical and calm they are under like wildly new phenomena. Like for instance, they cannot address whether the ship is getting bigger or they're getting smaller at first.
right.
And so they scientifically like deduct that they're getting smaller.
Mhm.
But that they're not losing atomic structure. So they're not like losing cells like in the process.
Right.
And they bring up something that I really liked. Like, this isn't even technobabble. They were like, well, most matter, most atoms, that is, um, the space between, um, um, like the space between atomic particles is so vast that it's like the space between stars in the galaxy.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting.
So they have the same number of atoms, they're just becoming more compact.
Yeah.
But that would mean that they would keep their mass, which means they still should have been able to press buttons because they'd weigh the same.
Can you imagine that?
Got them.
Gotcha.
Gotcha.
Can you imagine like something like the size of an ant being like weighing like 200 pounds? It'd be insane.
That'd be horrifying.
Yeah.
Also, it wouldn't be able to move. So maybe I think they meant their molecular density, not necessarily their mass.
Mm.
Well, wait, if they have the same atoms, though, then it would be the same mass. And they get so heavy that they would injure themselves and their organs would collapse.
Oh,
because their bones wouldn't be strong enough to hold. Because if an ant is 200 pounds, its legs break, right?
yeah.
And anyways, I got them, folks.
Well,
let's just assume that they're like, they're somehow it works.
well, and indeed, there's another plot hole that I'm going to call out later on in the episode.
Oh shit! I didn't catch.
That seemed pretty glaring to me, but anyway, so the episode opens with the Enterprise going to this planet, and they get hit with this big ol' energy wave.
Yeah, because they're initially like studying the gas cloud post like supernova, like a star that or like a failed supernova or something, and they redirect towards the signal, right?
Yeah, and it actually, because it's been a long time since I watched the original series, it really got me thinking about the differences between, like, say, the original series and Next Generation. In the original series, a lot of the time, the Enterprise was just being sent to do science stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas in the next generation, the Enterprise most often was being sent on diplomatic missions.
Like political, diplomatic.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're just exploring, but most of the time it was the diplomacy. But it was like, it felt more like a science ship, right?
Yeah. Yeah, in Next Generation, I feel like the episode usually begins with them doing a science, and then they're called away to go do something diplomatic or like security based.
That's true. Yeah. Or investigatory or picking up a distress signal.
Whereas in the original series, I feel like most of the time the plot was mostly focused on the Enterprise doing a science.
Definitely. And then that led to interesting situations itself.
Yeah,
This feels like OG.
yeah, totally. And
Yeah,
yeah,
this
like
feels like original series, and I like that. I like the intro.
yeah, and like I said, this feels more Star Trek than I was expecting. Like this could just
Right?
take the animation away from it. This could just be an episode of the original series.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And
I
I
was like, oh,
wasn't,
this is just an episode.
and that's not necessarily what I was expecting. I was expecting kind of a like kidified, like Saturday morning cartoon version of Star Trek, but no, that's not what this is at all. It's
Oh, I see. You're expecting something to grab younger
yeah,
audiences, maybe.
yeah,
Not at all. Yeah, I watched this and I'm like, this, there's no kid that would find any of this interesting. Well, I mean, other than Star Trek kids.
I was gonna say, I mean, yeah, like I loved Star Trek when I was a kid, so
But
There-
like, it's not going to grab non-Star Trek kids. Like, a kid's not going to be like, "What? What's this? Wow! Look at all the colors! Oh wow, they're shrinking."
yeah,
Anyways, where's Scooby Doo? Actually, I'd rather watch this.
yeah. There isn't even any like
you're watching
combat or
Scooby-Doo.
anything in this episode.
No, and there are times where the animation budget is woefully obvious.
Yeah,
Specifically around one scene that I'll mention later. But there's no combat, which is I don't know. It's I maybe I'm tipping my hand here, but I dug this. I liked it.
I did too. Yeah. Another thing that kind of surprised me about the episode is just how much Nurse Chapel is featured, because she was kind of
Yeah.
only an incidental character in the original series.
Yeah,
Now-
yeah.
Her role may have been beefed up in the animated series because she was married to Gene Roddenberry. I can't say for sure.
Oh,
Yeah, she was played by Majel Barrett, who notably was the voice of the computer on all of the Star Trek shows throughout the 90s, and she also played Counselor Troy's mom.
giggity.
Giggity.
Yeah. Giggity.
Well, Loxwana Troy was a horny character, so yeah, kind of giggity. Very into Picard.
Yeah. I always forget that character, Loxwana.
Loxwana Troy, yeah.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, I always hated the episodes that she was in. And like she's quite a beloved.
Yeah, I got that too.
She's quite a beloved character. But yeah, even watching the show as an adult, I'm like, ugh, another Loxwana Troy episode.
Yeah, I liked different things when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Lawaxana, Offa. I don't know.
Loxwana, you don't have to put on the red light.
Waxana. It rolls off the tongue.
Loxwana.
So the message that they're investigating is weak. Right away, I think it's Bones who's like, let's just ignore it. Oh, and you can tell it's also not meant for kids because it doesn't try to, even though it's serialized, it doesn't try to reintroduce every character and what they do every episode, like a kids show needs to do.
Right.
To grab, right? Like, you're just like, who's this guy Bones, and why is he calling the captain Jim? Like it it doesn't need to establish that they're old friends.
Yeah, a lot of episodic TV, and in particular kids shows, is kind of written with the idea that every episode is someone's first episode.
Exactly. It's always grabbing a kid randomly flipping through the channels and landing on any one episode. And that's another exactly why I think this the intent wasn't for kids, because it doesn't do any of that. This is Spock, the science the head of science on the ship, and this is the captain. Everyone has to listen to him, and this is Bones. Don't mind him.
This is Bones. He's a crotchety old racist, but he has a heart of gold. But he'll save your life, damn it.
He'll save your life, damn it. And this is Scotty, the resident Scotsman.
This is Scotty, the chief engineer and flying Scotsman.
And wow. How have I not made that joke already? Is it flying if you're in space?
No, technically not. But
I
that's
agree.
but that's one of those things where you kind of just got to be like, whatever.
Yeah, technically they're moving in a medium that's more similar to flying, but they call them a ship.
Hmm.
But ships move on the not exactly completely 2D, but they want to be upright on the 2D plane of the ocean. So shouldn't they be more like
Well, and Starfleet is basically
planes? Space planes?
is basically Space Navy.
Yeah, exactly. Like all the same ranking.
Here's something that I found out recently. Oh, and like even they're like in the original series on the bridge, you even hear a boatswain. Like they weren't hiding.
Oh, holy shit!
Yeah, they weren't.
You're right.
Yeah, they weren't hiding at all. That Starfleet is Space Navy.
That like blew my mind, but at the same time, I know exactly what sound effect
Yeah,
that is. And it even made like boat like wooden plank stressing sounds like the like
yeah.
even though it would be like a metal like compact like in order to withstand the vacuum of space it wouldn't like creak like wooden planks.
Here's something that
My mind is blown.
Here's something that blew my mind that I didn't actually know until recently. So there was a series of BBC TV movies in the late 90s to mid 2000s based on the Hornblower novels. It's called Horatio Hornblower. There's 8 movies.
That was my nickname in college.
I'm a big fan of them. Notably, they starred the guy. Do you remember those Fantastic Four movies from the 2000s? The guy who played the guy who played Reed Richards in those plays Horatio Hornblower.
Okay.
They're really good. It's just about a guy who's like a midshipman on like a British frigate during the French Revolution. They're really, really good. I really, really like them. I own them on DVD and go back to them every now and then. I would love to review one of them on this podcast someday down the road, even though they're feature length. But it is technically a TV series. Anyway, what I found out recently was that Gene Roddenberry was a big fan of the Hornblower books, and they were one of the main inspirations for Star Trek. And it blew my mind when I read that because it just made sense. It clicked right away for me.
And you had already enjoyed that before knowing that.
Long before, many years before knowing that. And then when I found that out, it's like the fact that I really like these two things, like just kind of clicks.
Huh.
I'm like,
mind blown.
I'm like, yeah, so that can't be a coincidence. There's something there's something in there that is in both of those that is appealing to me. So the fact that one directly inspired the other just made sense to me.
Well, there you go. Today I learned. Hey, wait a second. Does the existence of betazoids imply the existence of alphazoids? Oh, well, Trekkies, answer my goddamn question.
Well, I mean, there is the planet.
Humans are alphazoids.
The planet that Khan was marooned on was SETI Alpha 5.
Oh shit. Well, that explains why they marooned him there. Only a planet with alpha in its name could contain him.
Yeah.
And even then, not for long.
And
only
even then,
most of his life.
And even then, it was like, ay, 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 ay. Alpha.
Ay, 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 ay.
Khan has escaped.
Alpha.
Assemble a crew for
Assemble.
the Enterprise with attitude.
With attitude.
That's a mashup that wouldn't work.
Or would it?
I liked our Buffy and Power Rangers mashup, but I don't think Power Rangers and Star Trek would work well together.
I don't know. Because one is serious and one is not.
Yeah. By the way, speaking of Buffy, I've actually been watching Angel.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm most of the way through the first season now. Yeah, I like that show. So shout out to
still digging it.
Yeah. So shout out to Josh. Thanks for getting me to watch that because I found a show that I like now.
Damn. Yeah, we both found a show recently that we've liked. Mine was Evil, and yours is Angel.
I like Evil as well. I kind of fell off of it after a few episodes. I should go back to it.
It gets it's good. It's good. Really like the main character.
It's good.
It's like, how do you make a mom that has like four like girls, like the main character of this show, and it does.
There's a movie coming out recently with Mike Coulter, or not recently, in the near future, I think.
A movie
that has Mike Coulter in it that I thought actually looked pretty good.
What is?
Alarum. It's an upcoming action crime thriller starring Sylvester Stallone, Scott Eastwood, Willa Fitzgerald, Mike Coulter, and some other people I've never heard of. You know what? When I first saw this, I thought it looked kind of cool, but now that I look more into
it, that you're saying,
this looks more like direct-to-video fluff from like the 2000s.
When you started listing out the names, I was like, well,
maybe not.
Maybe I'll pass on that.
Yeah, maybe. I have for this year, I've committed to watching at least one new release film a week. That's one of my goals for the year, and I plan to talk about it on the Podcrafts.
Oh no, I mean, yeah.
So maybe that can be one of the movies. I'm gonna have to play catch up though, because like right now, so far nothing really has come out yet.
What about Nosferatu?
That is a 2024 film.
But still in theaters.
I was tempted to go see it though, but then I was just like,
go see it.
Man, it's gonna take me an hour to get out there on the bus.
Man, you live in like somehow like bizarro like Canadian city land where it's like, yes, somehow the city of this size, you're still an hour away from everything.
And a city in which I am not particularly fond of, but what I've noticed is that when you say that to people who live here, they get very offended.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Like, shockingly offended. Like, people get really, really pissy whenever I, like, shit talk the town that I live in.
Redneck syndrome.
Yeah.
Where you gotta, like, pretend that the town you're in is, like, the best town.
Yeah, I guess.
Which is weird. I've never encountered that of anyone, like, of any other town or city.
No, and in fact, like, a lot
sucks, and they're like, yeah.
Yeah, I know. In fact, like, a lot of places, like Richmond and Surrey, for instance, tend to be very they tend to be very self-depreciating.
Right? Like, I've never met anybody from any region in Vancouver that thinks any region in Vancouver is good.
Yeah.
But Nanaimo, I've encountered that a couple times.
I encounter it daily.
Weird.
Yeah.
Not even Victorians, which are like the snooty hipsters of the province, like fucking care what people think of Victoria. They'll quite the opposite. They'll talk about the things they like about it, but like not like get upset if somebody doesn't like it.
Yeah.
If anything, they'll go, "Oh, what don't you like?" And then they'll like list a couple things, and they'll go, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, it's the defensiveness is what I don't is what kind of perplexes
It's
me.
weird. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's very weird. I think that's like, I'm a redneck and I'm stuck here, but well, it's good enough for me. Like a weird defensive,
Yeah.
like my peepaw was from here, and his father before him, and well, his father before him killed an Indian for his land. Yeehaw.
Jeez. Anyway, so this like beam that the crew get hit with, um, at first they think that the ship it's making the ship grow, but eventually they realize that they're shrinking.
Yeah,
And
and they do a bunch of science back and forth and determine they're not losing like atomic structure. So like they're not going to get dumber because they have less brain cells or
yeah,
anything like that. But the issue is, again, doesn't make sense to me. I would assume they would keep their mass, but maybe their atomic like weight changes too. Or something like that. But anyways, they calculate how long it will be until they no longer have the mass or the means to even like push the buttons on the bridge.
yeah. And it's once they figure it out, I think they have 32 minutes.
Yep.
And
about half an hour. Yeah.
yeah, so there's a ticking clock going on throughout the episode. I don't think necessarily we need to like go over everything in the episode beat by beat because
of course not. No.
Because it kind of is just them like engaging in a lot of
and it's entertaining, but there's no point in just regurgitating the
yeah
the science of it.
Yeah, it's mostly just them engaging in a lot of science speak and trying to figure out like what the problem is and what to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of all there is to the episode.
And they find out that uh, it is a targeted attack from a region on the planet where they got Territon was the message they decoded, but it was in like an old radio language.
Yeah.
And it turns out that I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't that not necessarily the goal of the Territons? They were trying to shrink them so that they could, oh fuck me, I just watched this and I can't remember why they're even shrunk. They needed to talk to them, but they needed them small. It has something to do with the crystals.
Well, they
like
the planet is the planet's about to go
too much energon.
Yeah, basically the planet's like gonna go like boom eventually. It's becoming like
right. It's undergoing like tectonic like destabilization.
Yeah, volcanoes are erupting. The planet's going to become uninhabitable. They had no way of really communicating with the crew of the Enterprise, so what they did was they shrunk them to essentially make it their problem, the Enterprise's problem as well, so
that they would go down onto the surface or
and help them,
try to communicate
basically
with them.
Yeah.
Force their hand. Yeah,
which is, I mean,
Kirk doesn't fucking like that at first, and it's like it almost seems like he's gonna abandon them at the end.
Yeah.
But right, like it psychs you out.
Yeah, I know, because someone even asks, like, what about the captain? What about the Territons? And he's just like, Mr. Sulu, lock phasers. And I'm like, oh shit, is he just gonna be like, fuck you and blow them up? Because honestly, Kirk wouldn't surprise me that much.
Especially after, like you had said, by making it their problem, they have to investigate what's going on, and then they have to save them. So the long short is that Territons have natural what are the crystals on the Enterprise that they use?
The dilithium crystals.
Dilithium, thank you. And it's revealed that dilithium is one of the most atomically like dense materials known to man. They are unraveling and unwinding, essentially making them useless. So not only do they need to go to the planet to get more, but whatever is happening to the crystals is happening to all organics. on
Right.
the ship. And that's part of how they know that they're shrinking, not the ship is getting bigger.
Yeah,
Because
so
the
that
coral is getting smaller and their clothing is getting smaller too, but not anything that's inorganic.
I do like the fact that they make a point of mentioning, because they're like, hey, why are our clothes shrinking too? They make a point of mentioning, oh, because it's made of like organic, like coral matter.
It's made of like a type of like algae spun like nano gel.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It's an
And
interesting
in that
attention
sense,
to
cotton.
detail.
In that sense, if you had cotton clothes too. So yeah, in the future they have like algae spun like nano gel, which is why they're form fitting, but also like stretchy. And I'm like, man, that sounds comfortable. Where's our algae spun like nano gel like space suits?
The irony being the Star Trek uniforms throughout the years have been notoriously uncomfortable for the cast
Yeah,
to wear.
I imagine the actor or actress with the most, other than the ones with prosthetic like things on their face, which probably take like hours to apply every like recording session, right? Like Ferengi
Right.
and that kind of stuff. It probably takes like a long ass time to look that good, right?
Hmm.
Other than that, maybe oh, what was her name? Seven of Nine, Ryan,
Jerry Ryan.
Jerry Ryan, yeah. Because hers looked very even more form fitting, and I'm
Uh,
pretty sure there were heels built into
she hated
her
that
like
outfit.
one. Yeah,
She
okay.
she's gone on record saying that the outfit was always too tight, the shoes were uncomfortable. They made her wear a corset underneath the tights that
No
was
shit.
extremely uncomfortable.
I didn't even know that, and I had guessed that monstrosity was. It did look rigid, and now the corset thing makes sense.
She's joked
Wow.
in the past that she wanted to, on the final day on set, she wanted to set fire to the corset. She had apparently been joking that she was going to burn it as soon as shooting had wrapped.
Amazing.
Yeah. Jerry Ryan. It's weird. She was introduced to that show as
Gary.
she was introduced to that show as eye candy, but she became so much more.
Right? Like because Voyager is like my Star Trek.
Mhm.
Oh,
Voyager's good.
ghosts. Like in when I was watching it, right? Like as a teenager, as a young teenager into and like an older teenager, yeah, she's hot and everything, right?
Yeah,
But like
still is too.
more it, some people, man, they just age up. um
We'll
or maybe it's just our taste in the milfs.
we'll
But also she
you'll get to see her in when we review Star Trek Picard, because she's a regular on that show.
yeah, I will. But yeah, she's like, I found myself like infinitely more interested in like exactly what phase types of like the Borg and how come all the Borg are like ugly bald men zombies, but she's like we will designate this drone the big booba sexy drone to attract the man. And the argument there is there is none. She's just
her
she's just
her
sexy.
her we are the Borg. This unit's designation is tits of ass.
You will be assimilated. Here is a picture of her, and then the people on the ships would be like, "Oh, okay, yeah, send her aboard.
Yeah.
We'll be assimilated."
Uh,
So what you're saying is, she's going to penetrate us. That's all.
that's all.
We're gonna become the Borg.
She's going to she's going to unload those nanoprobes inside you.
Do I get to choose where they're unloaded? Pegging jokes. If anybody would,
we're off in the weeds here.
we are. There's one point where Blondie falls into a tank,
Yeah, that's Nurse Chapel.
and she's like, "Help, help!" And I'm like, "What? You forget how to swim?" And I'm like, "Wait, if they're more dense, they can't swim." But
Yeah.
she does tread water for a while. Also, I guess in space, so it's like, where are you going to learn how to swim?
And look,
Like
I
that scene is so badly animated.
it's so badly animated, and
It's completely unnecessary.
Majel Barrett is just screaming in the most unconvincing way possible,
Help,
help, continuously.
help,
Help, help,
help. And
help.
the only person that seems to hear and go to her aid is Kirk. And he like throws a needle and thread into the water, and she grabs it and she's like pulled out. And I'm like,
Mhm.
why was this in the why is this in the episode?
Yeah,
Like,
and there's one scene too that's kind of felt kind of pointless where Sulu is getting like all aggro, being like, Captain, we have to do something. Just let me lock phasers. Just let me fire one phaser beam.
come on, man. Just let me shoot one beam before I'm too small to ever shoot again.
Pretty much, yeah. And Kirk is just like, dude, no.
Calm your shit down, man. He's like, what? Maybe I can like stop it. And it's like, but that won't help
Ow!
us.
That won't do anything.
Did they end up finding out that going through the transporter was like remolecularized you properly?
So Spock mentions that the transporter, and this is long been established in Star Trek canon, is that the transporter pattern buffer maintains like a copy of you, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically so when you're dematerialized, if something goes wrong in the transport, they can just cut it off and bring you back. Basically. Also,
Right,
if you
right.
think about it, it's kind of nightmare fuel because you're essentially being destroyed and like copy of you is being created somewhere else.
Oh, I've all long thought like every time that you're transported, that version of you is killed and a copy of you at that moment is created.
Yeah.
So like Kirk is probably on like clone like 700,
Yeah.
right? Like he's so far removed from I think wait a second. Wait. Do you think that there would be anti-transport people in this world? Like they would just
100%.
I'd be one of them. I'm pro-choice and anti-transport transporter.
It's actually a thing in Star Trek Enterprise, especially early on in the show. Transporters are not really clear. Like you can transport a person, but it's mostly just used to transport cargo.
That
And a
makes
lot of
sense.
people are like vehemently against the idea of a human being transported.
Well, it is weird because like it makes the idea of consciousness um like trivial. Like consciousness is just your neurons firing in your brain. Well, there are episodes where that's murky.
Yeah, Star Trek does get spiritual sometimes.
Yeah.
But for the most part, though, Star Trek
Like
kind of
isn't
just.
like Scotty like stuck in like an in-between realm for like years?
Yeah, he ends up appearing in an episode of Next Generation because uh, s- he was on a shuttle near a Dyson sphere. I actually just rewatched this episode not that
Oh,
long ago.
cool.
It's a good episode. Um, and he figures out like they're gonna like lose life support and everything, and he figures out a way to essentially like hide in the transporter pattern buffer, basically,
Yeah.
with the idea that, someone will find them and beam them out. Unfortunately, no one finds them for 75 years.
Oh, it's
So
that long. Damn.
so Scotty is rematerialized like 75 years later in the next generation era. It's a pretty good episode because it kind of explores themes of like Scotty being kind of a man out of time. It's like, oh, in his day he was a legend. He was like an expert in like engineering and like ship systems, but then, that was 75 years ago. Now he's kind of obsolete. And it's
Yeah,
about
now they teach that in kindergarten.
And it's about, and indeed, there are a bunch of scenes where like LaForge like kind of gets at odds with him because he's like, "Look, you're in the way, dude. Like like we don't do things the way that they did back then."
Also, stop using the N-word. It's making everyone uncomfortable.
And the episode ends up essentially being about Scotty like learning to find a new purpose in life. I don't know. It's a good episode.
Is he conscious when he's in the pattern buffer, or is it like
No.
no time has passed?
It's like no time has passed.
Okay, thank God. It's not like the Stephen King's Jaunt, where he's just like in a black nothingness.
No,
His
it's
mind left to wander and waste.
yeah, you're essentially just in suspended animation.
Thank goodness.
Speaking of thank goodness, so what happens? So yeah, Kirk figures out that by just saying, he's like, well, in a last ditch effort, just beam me down to the planet. We've only got like
but
10
we only
minutes
got
left.
like 15 minutes before we're like so small we can't do shit. And he's like, well, better get on it then.
Yeah. And I find the shot really funny of Scotty and like a bunch of crewmen like miniaturized on the transporter console, and then
Now
actually,
heave, laddies.
yeah, put your backs into it, and they're like literally like pulling string to pull up the transporter lever.
Yeah, they have like a bunch of like apparatuses so that they can like pull smoothly pull those like 3 diodes
Yeah,
up the panel.
yeah. It's I thought it was.
I
A
like
funny
how it addresses
visual.
how difficult their jobs become as they get smaller and smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Like when they have to heal people, they decide to use like an inner ear canal like type of healing device, because like the regular ones don't work on them.
Yeah, because Sulu fell and broke his leg after his whole like, just let me fire the phasers once.
Oh yeah,
His like
Come
stupid
on.
freak out that he was having.
let
there.
me kill them all.
So Kirk beams down to the planet, and he is reatomized. He's rematerialized at his full size.
He's
Now-
like, oh shit.
So
And he knows
all-
this because he looks down at the communicator, and it's tiny. It's like a little thing in his hand.
So why did the communicator shrink then? The communicator isn't organic.
Wait,
Yeah.
hold on. Wait.
I mean, the uniform explanation makes sense, but the communicator is literally just a piece of technology. So why did it shrink?
It's made out of. Here's the thing: the communicators are actually made out of animals, much like the universal translators in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Nailed it.
The babblefish.
Yeah. And they
so-
harvest them for surface to ship communication.
Oh, and something happens too, where where the Terratons beam the crew of the Enterprise to their city. So if we've just established
Right.
that transporting Kirk down to the planet using the transporter makes people their regular size again, how come the shrunken Enterprise crew members stayed shrunk when the Terratons beamed them down?
Well,
Also-
you know what they say: stay shrunk, get crunk.
Also, if transporters can fix this problem of being,
Why wouldn't they just transport?
why wouldn't the Terratons, who Spock even mentions, like the Terratons are like, because they're an old Earth colony, which was originally known as Terra 10, Terraton.
Yeah.
They're familiar with transporter technology, so it's like, why didn't they just use their transporters to fix their whole being small thing?
Or why didn't they just use the transporters to beam some members of the bridge down so that they could go, hey, hi, can you guys help us?
Yeah. Also, when
There's a lot of wait. There's a lot of
also
wait moments.
also at the end of the episode, Kirk decides to save the Terratons and beams their entire city onto the Enterprise. but they stay shrunk.
So the reason the Terratons are small, because their leader sounds like this. We are a proud people and blah blah blah. Um, he just kind of yada yadas over it, but he says that genetically, they have adapted to that planet, and that's just how they are now.
They are micro.
They are small.
What a horrible way to live.
I mean, rent would be pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's fair.
Isn't there a movie called like Downsize, or there's a movie based on like shrinking people so that they could like afford property or a TV? I can't remember.
Downsizing.
Downsizing, is that what it was called? Yeah.
I feel like
Something like
there's a movie called Downsizing.
Imagine how cheap groceries would be.
Downsizing. It's 2017 science fiction American comedy drama who decides to undergo a recently invented procedure to shrink his body so he can start a new life in an experimental community. Yeah, it starred Matt Damon. Matt Damon, Christoph Waltz, Kristen Wiig.
Oh, what the fuck? That's
Jason
like an
Sudeikis.
all-star.
Jason Sudeikis. Man, why haven't I watched this movie?
Right? Like when you started listing them off, I'm like, what the fuck? Look at this all-star cast.
Yeah, this actually sounds pretty good.
All right, we got something from this. Yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah, I've never seen it either. Yeah, is that available on anything? Justwatch.com. Downsizing. Oh, it's on Amazon Prime Video. Sweet. I know what I'm watching later.
Ed. I wonder if they get to choose the proportions of when they downsize. Like if you're like, oh, you're downsizing me to
I know where you're going with this.
like, okay, you're making me like 132 scale, but can you make my wiener like 130 scale? I'm not asking for not twice as big, but just so in comparison, yes, I'll still be tiny, but
you'll have a dick like the size of your arm.
no, well, 10%. Can I get 10%?
Oh God. Yeah. Anyway, so the Enterprise as I mentioned, beams the Terraton city onto the ship, and they're like, okay, we're gonna find a very beautiful Earth-like planet for you and drop you off there.
Yeah.
And
then he's like,
the Terraton leader is like, we are a proud people. We do not express gratitude. We will not say thank you. However, you are honorary Terratons. And Kirk's like, gee, thanks.
yeah. And he's like, I'm going to end this episode with a pun. Take me down to Terraton City. Where the streets are glass and the lava is pretty. Oh, won't you please take me home?
Amazing that this episode actually predates the recording of that song.
Oh yeah, I never. Oh shit.
By
So
at least a decade. At least a decade.
the show was ahead of its time, damn it.
It was.
Which, well, I mean, the animation isn't, but Star Trek in general is ahead of its time.
No, the animation is very much. Who was it? Was it Filmation who made it? Yeah, it was Filmation. It's very much of the like 1960s, 1970s like Filmation style.
That being said, not atrocious all the way through. Like it was decent.
It's not bad. It's just it looks cheap. You can tell. You can tell they you can tell they were on a budget and a schedule.
So if the Federation is a future of egalitarianism, who decides what kind of uniform you wear? And can men wear the mini skirt uniform?
I think there actually is. They establish in in later Star Trek. Not even much later Star Trek. I think in like Next Generation, you have like you'll see like some dudes wearing the like skirt version of the uniform.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, I feel like that's the case, and they definitely do that in Lower Decks.
Oh, damn. And I know that at least in like and in Star Trek like Enterprise and onwards, the women can like do the pants and
Yeah.
the man suit.
Well, yeah, in Enterprise, everyone's just wearing those blue, like, almost like NASA like uniforms. I like the
Oh, yeah.
uniforms in Enterprise.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
very. I like Enterprise in general. Not that show doesn't. Not everything about it works, and like especially in like the third season, the show you can very much tell the show is like a post 9/11 TV series because they get like right into base they
Mhm.
they get right into that basically, which is a weird avenue for Star Trek to take, but whatever. But for the most
Right.
part, though, I think Enterprise works on
Yeah.
most levels. I like that show a lot.
When we covered that, I liked the episode we landed on.
Well, and we landed on a weird episode too. We landed on
We did.
basically the Enemy Mine episode.
Yeah, as I pointed. Had you watched Enemy Mine before we?
I still have never seen it, but it's also reminiscent.
It's funny that you remember I mentioned that. I like Enemy Mine, but yeah, it was the Enemy Mine episode.
It's also reminiscent of the Next Generation episode, a very popular episode, Darmok.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember you mentioning that.
Darmok and Jalad at Tanagra. I feel
don't
like
speak
Enemy Mine, though, is based on. I feel like it's based on an older, like a World War II film. So I feel like there was a movie that came out in like the 50s or something that was about a Japanese and American pilot being like stranded together and having to work together.
Oh. I feel that
Can't remember what it is
talked
now.
about this before.
Yeah. But oh yeah, I'm on the Wikipedia page for Enemy Mine. It's like see also. Oh, Hell in the Pacific. That's it. Hell in the Pacific is a 1968 World War II film starring Lee Marvin and Toshiro Mifune, the only two actors in the film. And it's about an American and a Japanese pilot being stranded on a Pacific island and them having to like learn to work together to survive.
Does one of them have a kid and the other one has to look after it though?
No.
Spoilers for Enemy Mine starring Dennis Quaid.
Yeah, the See Also section on the Wikipedia page for Enemy Mine mentions Hell in the Pacific, The Enemy, Star Trek The Next Generation episode,
Yeah.
Dawn, Star Trek Enterprise, which is the episode that we covered.
Yeah.
An episode of Stargate SG-1 literally called Enemy Mine.
Oh. Huh.
Which one is this? In the episode, a Stargate Command survey team led by Colonel Edwards is looking to determine whether the planet they're on contains the naquita mineral required for the construction of interstellar battleships. However, they soon encounter a group of Unas who attack and kill one of Edwards' men in desperate need of the mineral. Dr. Daniel Jackson enlists help from his old
Those
ally,
fucking Unas.
Shaka, to help curate a treaty. That doesn't sound like Enemy Mine.
That doesn't sound like Enemy Mine at all. It's just called Enemy Mine. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
It's just funny though that
That is literally nothing like Enemy Mine.
it's nothing like Enemy Mine at all, but Wikipedia is still like, see Enemy Mine, the Stargate SG-1 episode.
It was titled Enemy Mine. That's the only similarity.
It was titled Enemy Mine, therefore it's the same.
Enemy Mine, therefore enemy yours.
Well, Cal, you just caught a random episode of Star Trek the Animated Series. Would you tune in again?
You know what? Yeah. Like I like the original series, and I don't know what I expected of this, but like you can also almost be more sci-fi with like with it being animated than you can with live action. So yeah, absolutely.
Well, and indeed, there's a bridge character in this show who isn't even human.
Oh yeah, he's got a higher voice like this, and he's what was he? He was like navigation or something like that.
Yeah, he was basically Chekhov because they couldn't afford Chekhov for the show.
Oh goddamn, Chekhov's agent be going to bat for him.
Which I find hilarious that they got all of the original cast back from the original
We
series to
cannot
do the
spare
voices.
an extra $100 for Chekhov.
I know, that's what I find funny.
Like,
It's like
we could pay everyone else like the thousands and tens of thousands of dollars that they want, but like, sorry, Chekhov, we can't give you that $150 check that you're asking for.
it's just not in the budget. We'll get everyone except one dude.
Yeah, right? And then we're just gonna get like, I don't know, some random person to do like a funny alien voice. I kind of wish that like I understand that star power like kind of sells, but like it's animation, so like they could have went nuts with like the aliens, right?
Well, there is a character. She's not in this episode, but there is a character named Umress, which is awkward to say, but it's
It is.
M''RESS, and she was a cat. She was a humanoid cat.
Oh, I can't remember what that race is called.
There's a yeah. Let's find.
They're
out.
canonical, yeah.
They are. There's a cat.
Vacations? Yeah, vacations. Oh, that's simple.
Cation, yeah. Yeah. There's a Cation on Star Trek Lower Decks.
Oh, that's cool. I'll have to keep watching.
Damn. The OG cat girl.
OG cat girl.
Um.
Oh no, she's hot.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. I think I'll watch. I think I would tune in again. This is the only.
Yeah.
This is the only Star Trek show that I haven't watched all of. Actually, no, it's not true. I haven't watched all of Deep Space Nine, but I am watching through it now.
Ooh. Yeah, and this is on like I looked it up and this was on like everything, so I might check it out.
Yeah. It's on Paramount Plus, which is where I watched it.
And Netflix.
Anything Star Trek related, I just check Paramount Plus by default because I'm like it's almost
Fair.
certainly going to be on there.
That's yeah.
And Paramount Plus is like weirdly like kind of my favorite streaming service out of all of them. It's the one that I just consistently never unsubscribe to.
Which is also the one that most people don't know exists.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, it's been good so far. But yeah, it sounds like we're both we both dig it.
that was episode 106 of the Lazorcomb podcast. If you want to support the show, go to patreon.com/lasercomb, LAZORCOMB. We're starting at the $5 tier. You get access to our bonus weekly Patreon exclusive podcast, the Super Lasercomb Patreon Super Show. $10 tier, you get that. Plus, you get the occasional commentary track. And you get to pick a show for us to review a random episode of on this very podcast. And at the $20 tier, you get all of that. Plus, not just picking a show for us to review. You can also pick the episode, which we've done a few of those now.
It's true.
If you want to get in on all of that, go to patreon.com/lasercomb. Join the Discord if you want to interact with us. Link in the description as always. Also links to our TikTok and Blue Sky accounts in the description as well. We will be back next week with the next installment of Star Trunk II, The Search for Boogaloo, where we're going to be talking about the beloved,
Uh-oh.
the beloved by and adored by the fan base, Star Trek Discovery. Star Trek Discovery was the first new Star Trek show on TV after a 12-year hiatus back in 2017.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, there was no Trek on TV after Enterprise ended in 2005. There was no Trek on TV for 12 years.
But don't worry, it's edgy.
Because
The
Paramount
Vulcans here, fuck.
because Paramount decided we're going to try and turn Star Trek into a big blockbuster movie franchise.
And it was successful. Man,
Yeah.
there was a thread that was like, oh, how I envision Kirk. I cannot envision Kirk as anyone else other than, and I can't remember the actor's name, but the guy that plays Kirk in those movies. And I'm like, oh man, imagine
Chris,
that being like your one and only.
he's one of the Chris's, right?
Yeah.
Why am I drawing a blank on his name?
I know my
Star Trek 2009. Which I actually like that movie, I will say.
Oh yeah, there's nothing. We've had mutual like problems. Like he's driving a Cadillac and listening to like oldies.
Listening to Beastie Boys, yeah. Chris Pine, that's right.
Yeah, I don't know why I couldn't remember Pine. But imagine like thinking of like Kirk and like that's your go-to. I'm like, how fucking old are you? But I guess
Right.
it just depends on when people take the dive into Trekdom.
Yeah, I mean that's fair, I guess. And as far as I'm concerned, as a lifelong Trekkie, there's no gatekeeping to be had. Any Star Trek or any iteration, any show being someone's favorite Trek is perfectly valid. And I'm not going to say that someone
Unless no.
unless they say their favorite show is Discovery. No,
Then they're a
even
liar.
even then. Anyway, so to figure out what episode of Star Trek Discovery we're going to be watching, I'm going to hit screen share to share the screen.
Scream share.
Screen share. So, Star Trek Discovery had 65 episodes. One random number between 1 and 65, and here we go. Mushroom drive engaged. 3.
Oh, 3. Okay, let me grab a pen here. Where's my
Context
pen?
is for Kings, October 1st, 2017.
Where's my pen? There it is.
Oh boy.
Wait. So, episode 3?
Episode 3.
Clearly, it's going to be a good one because it's one of the first ones then.
The series writers consider this episode to be the equivalent of the show's pilot, introducing the majority of its main cast, the titular starship Discovery, and the beginning of the season-long story. Okay, maybe this is actually a good random episode
Okay.
for you to come into.
Yeah.
Just brace yourself for when you see the Klingons.
Yeah, I know that that's a meme, like people hating, but I've never. Should I Google or just let it be a surprise?
Just let it be a surprise.
How they couldn't. Okay, I'm resisting the urge to Google it, but I'm like, they can't be like
They're
can't be that egregious, right?
sure.
I guess we'll find out.
We'll go with that.
Well, now I'm just curious. I'm not going to Google it though. I really, really want to.
Oh yeah, and there's that Star Trek Section 31 movie coming out at the end of this month. You know, it's a movie, but it is TV technically.
It is.
It's a TV movie. We could bend the rules if we wanted to make that part of Star Trunk II.
If we wanted to.
We'll wait and see. I'm gonna watch it regardless, but I don't know. We'll put that idea on the back burner for now, maybe. I don't know.
And this is true of all of the 2D art, like assets of Star Trek. But I liked the painted ships and painted planets and painted backgrounds and stuff in the animated series. I forgot to mention that. Like your background there, that's clearly like watercolor
Yeah.
and pen, right?
I did
And
find it kind of funny though that a lot of the time the Enterprise was just a still image that was moving across the frame.
yeah, but hey, what are you gonna what are you gonna do?
The budgetary maneuver.
The budgetary maneuver, classic.
Oh, there's another Star Trek series too that we could review potentially.
Huh?
Star Trek. Oh, why am I blanking on its name? It's another
No way,
cartoon.
hombre.
No way, hombre. Uh, s- it's the kids show.
Oh yeah,
The one with the hologram Janeway in it.
right. Star Trek
Why am I blanking on its name? But it's done too.
Prodigy?
Star Trek Prodigy, yeah. We could do that too.
I only recently even knew that existed.
It wasn't super popular, and indeed, I kind of dismissed it when it came out. But I was reading recently that not only does it have Janeway as like a hologram, like
Yeah.
it has a hologram Janeway in it, but Jellicoe, played by Ronnie Cox, who is still alive, I might add, is actually a recurring character on the show,
Oh.
and that actually kind of intrigued me.
Oh, it looks cute. You got a bunch of aliens going around.
Yeah.
And that's what I was trying to say. If you can do if you can do more with animation, like what would make a whole bunch of aliens? What are you doing with humans? I see humans every day. They're boring.
Yeah.
Like a rock man and a robot and what is that? An orc man and a space elf and a purple guy.
And the purple guy.
And the purple guy who's clearly the leader.
Yeah, and they do that in Lower Decks too. They take advantage of the fact that it's animation. They get weird with
Hell
it.
yeah.
And
I should give that a go again.
well, yeah, we'll be back next week with episode 107 of the Lazor Comb podcast. And until then, I have been Lieutenant Commander Old Man Siege himself.
And I'm Ensign Cal.
Also himself.
Also myself. A hologram of Ensign Cal.
Oh, wait, I'm going to turn this avatar off now. There we go.
Oh, it's weird. I got so used to our avatars that oh, I've got like a blemish there. I need a haircut. Yeah.
I got so
try to
used to
look
my
like my
avatar, I
avatar.
turn it off and I'm like, oh, right, that's what I look like. Ugh.
My avatar has more fabulous hair. The same amount of forehead wrinkles, though.
Well, the real me has a cloak.
Look at this hair.
Look at it.
The real me can gesture with my hands.
That is true.
How freaked out are they that we turned our avatars off?
Well, until next time. Live long
Until next
and
time.
prosper.
May the force be with you.
Bye-bye.